Shalom Temple Beth Am. It's been a while, really by coincidence, since I recorded one of these messages to send out to you. For a while I was doing them most Friday afternoons before we lead into Shabbat, and things have gotten in the way. But today seems like an important time for me to reach you dynamically, if not actually face-to-face, then at least virtual face-to-virtual face. Also, with my making a commitment out loud to myself and to you to do this a little bit more frequently, particularly as this current situation regarding the COVID-19 virus and the world and the national and the regional and the state and the city reaction to it continues, for us to be in more digital relationship with each other, particularly because we might have to get used to being in less physical contact with each other. I want you to know that this is the second time I have filmed this today, not because I messed up the first time. It was actually a good cut, the video, but since we recorded it and we're about to send it out, things changed in the city, and therefore our communal response to it changed just enough that I wanted to record a slightly different message. So please bear with me. There's a lot for me to share with you today. Some of this is also in written form within this email. First of all, I want you to know that I have not written this out word for word. I have a basic sense of what I want to say, but I wanted to really speak to you and not read a prepared message, which means this might not come out as fluidly as it was if I was reading a prepared message, and I hope you'll forgive me for that. I want to talk about our congregational and our institutional plans for now, knowing that they might change by later today and by tomorrow, but I want to give you a sense of what to anticipate and even what to do this Shabbat. I want to talk a little bit about the nature of this threat that we're facing as a society. Obviously, I have no particular expertise in terms of what we're facing medically, but I want to share some words about what we can and should be doing for each other and for ourselves. I want to share a little bit of Torah because that's what I love doing, and there's something from this week's Parsha that speaks to this moment. And then I want to do a breathing and brief meditation exercise with you at the end because, boy, we need that more than ever. So first, nitty-gritty data for this Shabbat. This information is after hours of processing, listening to medical experts, being on conference calls, bringing in the lay leadership and the professional leadership over and over again to make sure that what we are doing for and with respect to our community is morally conscionable, defensible, societally responsible, knowing that there is no one answer. Just today, I have, and I imagine you have as well, have read articles from erudite and well-regarded experts who believe that pretty much every gathering in any part of the country that has been shown itself to be somewhat vulnerable to the coronavirus should really be limited to very small numbers of people and only for essential purposes, and that we should do severe social isolating so that we can, as I'm sure you've heard this message, flatten the curve. I've also read today and spoken to people today, and you may have as well, that have said that some of the societal response to this has not been in relationship to data and fact, but to the understandable emotional panic that individual people feel, that families feel, that therefore communities feel, cities feel, and societies feel. There's probably truth to both of them. We have tried to articulate and author and plan a communal response that speaks to both of those potential realities somehow simultaneously. I'm sure that not all of you will agree with every detail of what we're about to share with you, but I hope that you will lean into this as our trying to do what is best for our society and for the society. Okay, number one, regarding this Shabbat at Temple Beth Am. As of now, services will take place at Temple Beth Am. There will be Friday night services in our building. There will also be Shabbat morning services for now in the four main places that services take place. We specifically are not combining them so that the gatherings can be smaller individually rather than larger. There will be meditation minyan at 9:15 upstairs in the Whiteman conference room. There will be the sanctuary service in the sanctuary. More on that in a second. There will be Beitenu in Pilch Hall if a minyan gathers at 9:45, and there will be library minyan services at 9:45. And I could not have imagined that I as a rabbi would ever say this to my community or to you. But if there is going to be a Shabbat or two or three in your life where you, even as a regular shul goer, choose to spend Shabbat morning at home, and or if you're comfortable religiously and you have my religious and rabbinic blessing to do so, even though it's not your current norm, to experience our services live stream, I encourage you to do so. Let me make this clear. I'm not forbidding you from coming to synagogue. We're not closing the building. That might happen in the future. Some synagogues around the country are doing so. We're not doing that now. But I wouldn't mind if we had a slightly thinned out or more than slightly thinned out crowd, both by just natural attrition, and you're hearing my words that we don't need to have the greatest crowds ever in synagogue this Shabbat. And that will naturally allow us to gather for prayers in numbers that are considered to be defensible according to all the people who are making these decisions, including the normal precautions that have been in place already. Before you come to synagogue and while you're at synagogue, wash your hands several times for extended periods of time with soap, and or use the hand purifiers that are out there. If you find yourself to be in a vulnerable category medically, either because of your age or preconditions, you should not be in synagogue. You should not be in synagogue. And if you're having any symptoms whatsoever that suggest that you are anything but in perfect health, you should not be in synagogue. Services both in the sanctuary and in Library Minyan will be live streamed. The links are in this email. Okay. There will still be a bat mitzvah downstairs. We will be celebrating as Hannah Greenblatt becomes bat mitzvah, and her closest friends and family and members of the Library Minyan community, smaller than usual, will be there to celebrate with her. And Tamara Byfield will become bat mitzvah upstairs in the sanctuary without the formal 6th grade Shabbat that was to be in place. There might be individual 6th graders who will be there with Tamara to read Torah. We're not forbidding anybody from walking into the building. But we're not going to have the same grand gathering that we otherwise would have. And this is going to come as a surprise to some of you and as a relief to some of you. There will essentially be no public kiddush in Temple Beth Am this Shabbat, no public food served. Okay? This is in response to Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti's recommendations for what it means to distinguish between essential and non-essential gatherings. Prayer, tefillah, and significant family life cycle events, that's our raison d'etre. That's essential, and we will do that as long as we deem it to be safe and responsible to do so. Sharing food together after Shabbat services, it's wonderful, it's lovely, I love it. I love spending that time with you, I love having a l'chaim with you and a bagel with you and cholent with you. It's not essential, and we will not miss it. We will not mourn it if it doesn't happen. So if you are coming to synagogue this Shabbat, quote unquote, just to be in shul, because you made the decision that's where you want to be, and we embrace that, when services are over and whatever minyan you are in, we're going to finish Adon Olam, Adonai li v'lo ira, we're going to say Shabbat Shalom, we're going to blow you a kiss, and you're going to walk out of the building. There may, and may not, we haven't decided yet, be some food for you to take on the way out as a way of extending your Shabbat experience with food, even if you don't have it with us. In addition to that, the two families who are celebrating B'nai Mitzvah this Shabbat, that I just mentioned, the Greenblatts and the Byfields, will be having private kiddushim much smaller than was originally intended, which means that if you are in the category of people that they have reached out to today or tomorrow to say, yes, you are still invited to that private, much smaller, not including just the regular people who are going to be in Shul Shabbat, if they have reached out to you, by all means stay. If they have not reached out to you, you can blame us, don't blame them. We have given them that direction, that there has to be a much smaller group in order for us to permit there to be food being served in this community on Shabbat. Without that limitation, we would have canceled all of that. And some people think we should have, and we have decided not to for now. I'm going to say that one more time. Unless the families reach out to you between now and Shabbat to formally re-invite you to this smaller, really private Kiddush luncheon in the synagogue, please accept that this Shabbat, you're going to eat Shabbat lunch at your home or perhaps at the home of a friend, because small private gatherings are still permitted. That's for this Shabbat. Next Shabbat, I don't know yet. None of us knows yet. None of us knows what the news cycle is going to bring or what the numbers are going to be showing. That's what we have for this Shabbat as of 3:30 on Thursday afternoon as I am recording this. Okay. Moving to where all of us are and what we're nervous about and what we're scared about and where we're vulnerable. This disease is making us quite nervous. People are really getting sick, as you know. I don't have to tell you that. Some people will get very, very sick. Some people will die from this. Some people that we know. may die from this. I also think it's very likely that for many of the people who are a part of this extended community, where we're going to feel the hit may not be personally, individually, familially, as a result of our illness or our dry cough or our fever or our being vulnerable to death. That might happen. But in terms of what is happening in the fabric of our families, relationships frayed, finances significantly impacted, I think there's more of a chance that members of our community will be facing financial distress and perhaps even a version of financial ruin based on where your income comes from and based on where you're invested right now. Then there is a concern that many of us will come down with the virus itself. Which is my way of saying to you that I'm with you in that as a human being and as a citizen and as a family person and as a financial person. All of us have a version of this concern, and I understand why you may be nervous, and that people's nerves are frayed. It means that we may not all be always acting to our highest executive level of functioning because of the concerns that we have. And it means that the people around you are having a rough time, and you should know that about them, and they should know that about you, and you should be forgiving of them, and they should be forgiving of you. And you should try to be as good to yourself as possible as we try to keep a boat relatively steady in a very stormy sea and trying to navigate through very rocky shoals. I'm here for you. I can't necessarily be here for you in person in the way I normally would be, but I and Rabbi Chorny and Rabbi Schatz and Rabbi Shapiro and the entire senior staff of Temple Beth Am and the leadership of Temple Beth Am are not abandoning you, God forbid. If there is some specific thing that you are in need of or afraid of or concerned about, let us know. One-on-one contacts are still possible. If you need to have a meeting with me or another member of the community, let us know. We are here for you, even as we're trying to take care of our own families and our own well-being. But do not feel that you are burdening us by letting us know that there's something on your mind that you want to communicate to us about. And be gentle. Be gentle with others, and be gentle with yourself. Now, regarding a little piece of Torah. Some of you may have heard me share this before because it's one of my favorite nuggets of Torah that I've heard and shared over many times in the name of the person from whom I learned it. I learned it from one of my teachers when I was in yeshiva in 1994, Rabbi David Walk. He shared it in a very emotional Dvar Torah he gave in the immediate aftermath of the massacre by Dr. Baruch Goldstein of Muslims at prayer in the tomb of the matriarchs and patriarchs in Hebron. Many of you, I'm sure all of you, remember that horrific moment in Jewish history and in human history. And by coincidence, his comments are related to this week's Parsha, Parshat Ki Tisa. Some of you know the moment when Moses, our greatest prophet, the one who was given the greatest access to God's inner secrets and God's intimate voice, asks God quite directly for permission to have it be revealed to Moshe, God's wonder, God's glory, God's innermost reality. Moshe asked this question in two different ways. One of the ways he says is, Hareini na et kvodecha. Show me, God, your glory, your power, your mystery. Sometime in another place in the Torah, the word is panecha, your face. What do you look like, God? What are you all about? If anyone deserves to experience it, it is I. I, Moshe, have earned that right. Don't you think that you should be revealing yourself to me in a way that perhaps no other human being gets access to? You could understand why Moshe would want to know that. We'd all want to know that. And you could understand why Moshe would feel that Moshe had a right to have that be exposed to him. Can you replace some of the mystery that confuses all of us with some clarity, with some answers? God's answer, as many of you know, is no. But how the answer is given is fascinating. God says, Lo tuchal lirot et panai, you cannot see my face, Moshe. I cannot expose myself to you. You can't know everything that's about me. I cannot replace all of your questions and all of your fear and all of your worry and all the things that confuse you with clarity and answers. Ki lo yir'ani ha'adam v'chai. Ki, because lo yir'ani ha'adam, a person, a man, a human being cannot see me, v'chai, and live and be alive. What does that mean? Innumerable interpretations of it. Some people understand it to mean that you cannot see me and continue to live. Moshe, if I took off the veil and exposed everything that I am to you, if all the answers came flowing to you, it would be so overwhelming to you, it would end your life. It would take you away from the land of the living. You wouldn't be able to tolerate the truth. A few good men, you can't handle the truth, literally. Or some people understand it to mean, you can't see me, lo yira'ani hadam, v'achai, while alive, in this mortal, corporeal world, Moshe. I can't show you all of what the earth and what the divine realm is about while alive. But in the world to come, perhaps in another living realm, maybe those answers can come to you. And many other answers are given as well. But what Rabbi David Walk said was to take that last phrase and divide it into two separate sentences in the following poignant, profound way. Lo yirhani ha'adam, full stop. Human beings cannot see me. They cannot understand my world. There are aspects of being alive and being a human and living in civilization and trying to live in the world where God is present that are inscrutable, that are beyond our ken, that are confusing and confounding and frightening. That's what it means to live in this world. Whether you're living in the time of cholera or influenza or COVID or any other of the many things that make it hard to understand how to ground ourselves and how to make ourselves feel whole and stable and safe. Lo yirani ha'adam. We can't understand everything. Even the experts don't all agree on what it is that they are seeing and understanding. They don't have a direct window into the truth here. V'chai, that now becomes a command. Now live! Exclamation point. Live through this. Live despite this. Live beyond this. This is a command in several different ways. Number one, it means take care of yourself. You got to live through this. You got to do all the things that you normally do to keep yourself well and healthy and vibrant, and do even more of it, whether that has to do with diet or sleep patterns or exercise or meditation or talking to the people whom you trust, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and real. You've got to live through this. You've got to live through this because those of us who are lucky enough to be alive right now and still alive are alive, and we're going to be alive past this. And that's part two as well. We have to live during this time in such a way that will allow our families and our relationships and our communities and our societies to be intact when the cloud lifts, when the emergency is over, when we're back to a version of normalness and normalcy. We want to be able to look into the eyes of the people we share life with and know that we held ourselves well during this time and we made reasonable decisions that we could defend as best as possible given the information we had at the time. We've got to live through this, my friends. I'm trying to live through this as a husband, as a father, as a leader, as a rabbi, as a colleague, as a citizen of our city and our state and our country and our world. And I ask you to lean into this wisdom from the very parsha that you might hear in person this Shabbat, or you might hear via our live stream, or you might just read along at home. We will not be able to have every question answered to us with divine revelation right now, like is always the case. V'chai, do what you can to live through this tenderly, live through this patiently, live through this generously, if you can, rather than parsimoniously. Live through this humanely. Live through this in a forgiving way. Live through this with as much vitality as you can muster, even as the world seems to be ebbing from its place of normal vitality. And I'm with you in it in every way that I possibly can be. And now, even if it's not your normal mode to do so, even if now is the moment in a video that you normally click off because everyone else is going to meditate, I want to ask you to stay with me for just a few more seconds and close your eyes as I'm about to do. I want to ask you to breathe in that way that is not just automatic, autonomic, and organic, but dynamic, intentional, and restorative. Feel the ways in which just a few moments of intentional silence reanimates the the cells of your body, the sinews and the muscles and the fibers that make you who you are, as you are reattaching to the parts of you that are beyond the realm of the tangible. Even though your eyes are closed, I want you to see yourself in the room that you're in right now. Picture you sitting or lying wherever you are. Picture you in the room where you are, in the building where you are, in the city where you are. Picture you healthy. Picture you well. Willing wellness to the extent that it is possible, and it is possible on some level as the mind and the body dance a waltz together. Picture yourself wishing well to those around you and doing right by those around you, both by what you do and what you choose not to do. Picture yourself as a being of gratitude and openness. As a child of the divine and a worshiper of the divine. As a recipient of the light of others and a source of light to others. And watch yourself as your chest rises and falls, the extraordinary blessing of breathing. Picture yourself breathing. Breathing yourself through this moment. Breathing yourself into executive state and to spiritual state. Breathing yourself towards Vachai and living as a command, even now, especially now. And picture yourself breathing as a member of a very special community that is together even when we are apart, that is connected even when we are physically separated, and will continue to be there for each other in all the ways that we already know how to do. Breathe. 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 And when you're ready, knowing that you can return to this simple method whenever you feel that you need to, you can open your eyes. And I say to you that I look forward to seeing you the next time I can and to embracing you the next time I can. And in the interim, I say to you, with all of the fullness of my heart and my soul, that I love you and I already miss you. And Shabbat Shalom.